What does low mean? A pair of glasses or opera glasses held in front of a person's eyes by a long handle at one side of cellophane the fancy people use. He died, Dukdingen. The Vicomte is the Mortimer, isn't it? Pierre Mortimer is the Vicomte. I mentioned it earlier. Vicomte the Mortimer. Okay. Yeah, I was right. They are the same person. Boskonski. I assume Boskonski is Boskonskaya's husband, eh? Yeah, it must be. That's how we do it in Russia. And you're gonna marry niece. So his sister-in-law is going to get married to Vasily's son, Hippolyte. And so Vasily's son is going to marry Andrew Boskonski's sister. Yeah. Good job. Now, since a lot of people are leaving very early, I suppose I should do some more. Oh. So I'm starting from the top of page 9. So Andrew Boskonski is going off to war. General Kutuzov. And niece, your wife. She will go to the country. Okay. Wisconsin and Pierre know each other? Prince Vasily and his daughter are good up to go, and the two men rose to let them pass. Le Vicomte, yeah. So Prince Vasily to the Frenchman. Now, if I had to say who's going to die in the war, this sounds silly, but I think someone's going to get poisoned. What am I saying? Mm. No. Interesting. I wonder what is the relation between Wisconsin and Pierre. The elderly lady is really desperate for a son, eh? Drubetskaya. So, if Bolkonski is, if Bolkonski is, uh, what was the feminine version of Bolkonski? Um, Bolkonskaya? Eh? Yes, Bolkonskaya. So E becomes Aya, so Drubetskaya is Drubetsky. That would be her maiden name. Golitsyn. So on page 10, right now, which is quite slow, but I'm trying to take my time here. Mikhailovna. So her full name is Anna Mikhailovna Drubetskaya. Ivan Leonovich Kutuzov. No, Kutuzov, I don't. So you can. Tomorrow you'll speak to the Emperor. Does that imply that you can just speak to the Emperor anytime? I didn't know people could do that. Drubetskaya is a title. Okay. I mean, I might be wrong. Cockatish. The wording, maybe it's just old, but the wording of this section makes me think that Anna Mikhailovna has a more serious plan for Boris and the guards. What do you think of this latest comedy, The Coronation at Milan? Monsieur Bonaparte. And Monsieur Bonaparte sitting on the phone and granting the petitions with easy. They say he was very fine when he said that. God has given it to me. What did he mean by that? Prince Andrew, that's Boskonskia's husband right here. So God has given it to me. That who touches it, beware. They say he was very fine when he said that. Dio mio, donna. Dio mio, donna. Guayacina tocco. I hope this will prove the last drop of the glass of water. The sovereign do not be able to endure this man who is a minister of. Now it is in time to read. Madame Elizabeth. Hippolyte's description when he says, I don't know how to speak French. Patron de guerres anglais de guerres dans maison conde. Meaningless nonsense, said he. If Bonaparte, I like the parts when they go over the entire Dune series. I could try. Yeah, I guess I could try. Well, I do have a few books I also want to read. There's Evil Under the Sun and Pet Cemetery. And after those, I could do it, yeah. So I like the parts when they go over the politics of Europe. So I'm going to read this part. If Bonaparte remains on the throne of France a year longer, the Vicomte continued. Is it, how do you pronounce how do you pronounce Vicomte? Vicomte. Vicomte. So it's not Vicomte, it's Vicomte. Sorry, the Vicomte continued with the air of a man who, in a manner with which he is better acquainted than everyone else, does not listen to others, but follows the current of his own thoughts. Things will have gone too far, by intrigues, violence, exile, and executions. French society, good French society, will have been forever destroyed, and then He shrugged his shoulders and spread out his hands. Pierre wished to make a remark, fully conversation interested him, but Anna Pavlovna, who had him under observation, interrupted. The Emperor Alexander, said she with a melancholy which has always accompanied any reference of hers to the imperial family, has declared that he will leave it to the French people themselves to choose their own form of government, and I believe that once free from the usurper, the whole nation will certainly throw itself into the arms of its rightful king, she concluded, trying to be amiable. Thanks, man. Almost all the aristocracy has already gone to Bonaparte's side. Now, nobody's watching, but I think these books are really great because, well, we always see these discussions in the news, on Reddit, on YouTube, about Ukraine, Gaza, and in our history books, we never go over really what the actual people think happens. It's more so of just going over the facts and not the opinions of the people that were in that time period. So reading old novels such as these, I think, gives a good insight into society's view of the Napoleonic Wars and times. Just like how people are condemning Russia or Israel today. So I think everyone should read at least one book of these. Doesn't matter which time. If it is the Bonapartists who say that at the present time it is difficult to know the real state of French public opinion. Bonaparte has said so, remarked Prince Andrew with a sarcastic smile. It was evident that he did not like the Vicomte, Vicomte, Fiscal. There was aim in his remarks at him. There was I showed them the path of glory, but they did not follow it, Prince Andrew continued with a short sigh, again quoting Napoleon's words. I opened my antechambers and they crowded in. I do not know how far he was justified in saying so. What does antechambers mean? A-N-T-E chambers. A small room leading to a main one. That makes sense. Okay. This is so creepy. So, I showed them the path of glory, but they did not follow it. Prince Andrew continued after a short silence, again quoting Napoleon's words. I opened my antechambers and they crowded in. I do not know how far he was justified in saying so. Not in the least, replied the Vicomte. Vicomte. I don't quite understand what Napoleon meant when he said, I showed them the path of glory, but they did not follow it. I opened my antechambers and they called it in. I think I'll search that up. Napoleon. Oh, that's interesting. So there's a subreddit called A Year of War and Peace, and I'll read it to you. Based on r/books, we'll read War and Peace, one chapter per day, and we'll discuss it here. Everyone, welcome. That's great. That's amazing, actually. Wow. Wow. That's great. So, oh shoot. Oh crap, not again. Oh, here we go. Oh. What is going on with Monsieur Pierre? He has a French name, but he's living in Russia, and it seems he's not too critical of Napoleon. What is going on here? Oh, I only this to you because I think it's interesting and needs to be read in a great voice. So, the execution of the Duttingen, declared Monsieur Pierre, was a political necessity, and it seems to me that Napoleon showed greatness of the soul by not fearing to take on himself the whole responsibility of that deed. "You, one you," wondered Napoleon in a terrified whisper. "What, Monsieur Pierre, do you consider that assassination shows greatness of soul?" said the little princess, smiling, and drawing her work nearer to her. "Oh, oh!" exclaimed several voices. "Oh, English. Capital," said Prince Hippolyte in English, and began slapping his knee with the palm of his hand. Capital? How many languages did these people speak? They're speaking in French, Russian, and English. Alright, so apparently they learned. I'm trying to think of it. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty boring. Oh, I see. Thank you. Difficult. Oh, that's interesting. They were cousins, right? Because they were all from Queen Victoria. The the Bourbons fled from the revolution, leaving the people to anarchy. Napoleon alone understood the revolution and quelled it, and so for the general good, he did not stop short for the sake of one man's life. Won't you come over to the other table? Suggested Anna Pavlovna. But Pierre continued his speech without heeding her. No, cried he, becoming more and more eager. Napoleon is great because he rose superior to the revolution, suppressed its abuses, preserved all that was good in it, equality of citizenship and freedom of speech and of the press. And only for that reason did he obtain power. Pierre, if you're going to say that in a room full of Russian aristocrats, I don't think you're going to make many friends. And considering, what was his name again? Andrew, Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew's relationship with Pierre. I'm assuming Prince Andrew might share the same opinions, but I don't know. Who's talking? Pierre, then Anna Pavlovna, I think. Uh, so there's Pierre and Anna Pavlovna. Yeah. Yes, of having obtained power without availing himself of it to commit murder, he had restored it to the rightful king. I should have called him a great man, remarked the Vicomte. Oh, sorry. I should have read it first, huh? He could not do that. The people only gave him power that he might rid them of the Bourbons. And because they saw that he was a great man, the revolution was a grand thing. Continued Monsieur Pierre, detrained by this desperate and provocative proposition of his extreme youth and wished to suppress all that was in mind. And I'm assuming the Bourbons were Louis, the French kings. Yes, they were the French and Spanish kings. I wonder. So the current Spanish king is a Bourbon. Interesting. So revolution and regicide, a grand thing. Well, after that. But won't you come to this other table? Replied Anna Pavlovna. Your soul's contrast social, said the Vicomte with a tolerant smile. That's funny, I just read that yesterday. I'm not speaking of regicide, I'm speaking about ideas. Oh man, this is getting tough. I mean, as in, they're starting to argue. Yes, ideas of robbery, murder, and regicide again interjected an ironical voice. Those were extremes, no doubt, but they are not what is important. What is important are these rights of man, emancipation from prejudices, and equality of citizenship. And all these ideas Napoleon has retained in full force. Liberty and equality, said the Vicomte contemptuously, as if at last deciding seriously to prove this youth how foolish his words are. Man, this guy is ruthless. High-sounding words which have long been discredited. Ooh, that's some tough words he's saying. We wanted liberty, but Bonaparte has destroyed it. Prince Andrew kept looking with an amused smile from Pierre to the Vicomte, and from the Vicomte to their hostess. In the first moment of Pierre's overness, Anna Pavlova, despite her social experience, was horror-struck. But when she saw that Pierre's sacrilegious words had not exasperated the Vicomte, and when she saw that Pierre's and had convinced herself that it was impossible to stop, um, where was I? She rallied her forces and joined the Vicomte in a vigorous attack on the orator. The shadow on my mouth is. He's a low fellow, say what you will, with my principal light. Oh, sorry, I skipped a few lines. But my dear Monsieur Pierre, said she, how do you explain the fact of a great man execution due, or even an ordinary man, who is innocent and untried? I should like, said the Vicomte, to ask how Monsieur explains the 18th Brumaire. Was that not an imposture? It was a swindle, and not at all like the conduct of a great man. And the prisoners he killed in Africa, that was horrible, said the little princess, shrugging her shoulders. And I'm wondering, was Napoleon's execution of the Duke a real thing? Oh, it was. Wow. Leo Tolstoy was smart. Yeah. Interesting. So, Nicholas and Kaiser Wilhelm letters in English? Interesting. Pastors. So Nicholas misspelled Serbian apparently. Interesting. Hippolyte. There's so many characters, my brain needs to keep rereading and rewiring everything. So, Pierre, not knowing whom to answer, looked at Emma and smiled. His smile was unlike the half smile of other people. When he smiled, his grave, even gloomy, look was instantaneously replaced by another, a childlike, kindly, and even rather silly look which seemed to ask forgiveness. The Vicomte, who was meeting him for the first time, saw clearly that his young Jacobin was not. I hope it's pronounced Jacobin because then that would look stupid. Was not so terrible as his words suggested. All were silent. How do you expect him to answer you all at once? Said Prince Andrew. Besides, in the actions of a statesman, one has to distinguish between his acts as a private person, as a general, and as an emperor. So it seems to me. That that's something that can be applied to the modern day too, I think. Distinguish between his acts as a private person, as a general, and as an emperor. That's true. And I think we all know why. Wink wink, the island. And yes, of course, Pierre chimed in, pleased at the arrival of this reinforcement. Okay, wait, and Prince Andrew is Boskanskaya's husband, eh? And Hippolyte is marrying Prince Andrew's brother. No, Prince Andrew's sister. Brother. One must admit, continued Prince Andrew, that Napoleon as a man was great on the bridge of Arcola, and in the hospital at Jaffa where he gave his hand to the plague-stricken. But there are other acts which it is difficult to justify. Prince Andrew, who had evidently wished to tone down the awkwardness of Pierre's remarks, rose and made a sign to his wife that it was time to go. Suddenly Prince Hippolyte started up, making signs to everyone to attend, and asking them all to be seated again. I was told a charming Moscow story today and must treat you to it. Excuse me, Vicomte. I must tell it in Russian or the point will be lost. And Prince Hippolyte began to tell a story in such Russian as a Frenchman would speak after spending about a year in Russia. Everyone waited so emphatically and eagerly as he did demand their attention to his story. There in Moscow, a lady, in dumb, and she is very stingy. She must have 2 footmen behind her carriage, and very big ones. That was her taste. And she had a lady's maid, also big, she said. Here Prince Hippolyte paused, evidently collecting his ideas with difficulty. She said, "Oh yes," she said. Girl, to the maid. Put a livery, get up behind the carriage, and come with me while I make some calls. Here Prince Hippolyte spluttered and burst out laughing. What's going on? He was telling a story. Well, obviously there were no telephones at that point, so I'm wondering what they meant when they said, "Come with me while I make some calls." Does anyone have an idea? Oh, list of characters. I think there is, but there might be might not be. Yeah, I don't think there is a list of characters. I mean, it only tells the story of 5 families. Vostos, Bokonskis, Kragins, and Jubitskis. Unfortunately, there is no. Oh, meet some calls could mean coming to visit people. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you. Here, Prince Hippolyte spluttered and burst out laughing long before his audience, which produced an effect unfavorable to the narrator. Several persons, among them the elderly lady and Anna Pavlovna, did however smile. So I'll reread that again with the context of make some calls. I was told a charming Moscow store today. I must treat you to it. Excuse me. Come to must tell this in Russian or the point will be lost. There is in Moscow a lady and dame, and she is very stingy. She must have 2 footmen behind her carriage, and very big ones. That was her taste. And she had a lady's maid, also big. She said, here, Principal paused, evidently collecting his ideas with difficulty. She said, oh yes, she said, go to the maid. Put on a livery, get up behind the carriage, and come with me while I make some calls. Livery, a special uniform worn by a servant. Okay, that makes sense. Here, Principal Light spluttered and burst off laughing. She went. Suddenly there was a great wind. The girl lost her hat, and her long hair came down. Well, the last paragraph has possibly the exact same meaning as I think it does. And so the anecdote ended. It was unintelligible why he had told it, or why it had to be told in Russian. Still, Anna Pavlovna and the others appreciated Prince Hippolyte's social tact in so agreeably ending Pierre's unpleasant and unamiable outburst. After the anecdote, the conversation broke up into insignificant small talk about the last and expos, about theatricals, and who could meet whom, when and where. So, how long is the next chapter? It's only 3 pages. I think we should do it. I think I'll have to end the stream by then because I'm getting quite sleepy. Having thanked Anna Pavlovna for charming Swati, is it Swati or Swati? The guests began to take their leave. Pierre was ungainly, stout, about the average height, broad of huge red hands. He did not know, as the saying is, how to enter a drawing room, and still less how to leave one. That is, how to say something particularly agreeable before going away. He took up instead his own the general's 3-cornered hat and held it, pulling out the plume, till the general asked him to restore it. Oh, his absent-mindedness and inability to enter a room and converse in it was, however, redeemed by his kindly, simple, and modest expression. Anna Pavlovna turned toward him and, with a Christian mildness that expressed forgiveness of his indiscretion, nodded and said, I hope to see you again, but I also hope you will change your opinions, my dear Monsieur Pierre. She said this. So it said nothing, unless perhaps. Opinions are opinions, but you can see what a capital good-natured fellow I am. And everyone, including Anna Pavlovna, felt this. Prince Andrew had gone out to the hall and turning his shoulders to the footman who was helping him on with his cloak, listened to his wife's shadow with Principal Light would also come to the hall. Principal Light stood close to the pretty pregnant princess. She's pregnant, huh? And stared fixedly up through his eyeglass. Go in, Annette, or you'll catch cold. Annette? Oh, said the little princess, taking leave of Anna Pavlovna. It is settled, she added in a low voice. Anna Pavlovna had already managed to speak to Lise about the match she contemplated between Anatoly and the little princess's sister-in-law. I rely on you, my dear, said Anna Pavlovna, also in a low tone. Write to her, and let me know how her father looks at her, Lamona. Au revoir, and she left the hall. Prince Hippolyte approached the little princess and, bending his face close to her, began to whisper something. Two footmen, the princess's and his own, stood holding a shawl and a cloak, waiting for the conversation to finish. They listened to the French sentences, which to them were meaningless, with an air of understanding, but not appearing to do so. The princess, as usual, smoked smiling and listened to it with a laugh. I am very glad I did not go to the ambassador's, said Prince Hippolyte. So dull. It has been a delightful evening, has it not? Delightful. The sailor ball will be very good, replied the princess, drawing up her downy little lip. All the pretty women in society will be there. Not all, for you will not be there at all, said Prince Hippolyte, smiling joyfully. Snatching the shawl from the footman, whom he even pushed aside, he began wrapping it around the princess. Shawl, SHAWL, a piece of fabric worn by women over the shoulders or head, wrapped around a baby. Oh, I see. So footman, I thought it meant soldier in the infantry, and I thought that was quite weird, but it turns out it's just a liveried servant whose duties include admitting visitors and waiting at tables, which makes sense. Whom he even pushed aside, and he began wrapping it around the princess, either from awkwardness or intentionally. No one could have said which. After the shawl had been adjusted, he kept around her for a long time, as though embracing her. This is the princess, the little princess, that's... Oh, Dana, is a little princess Boskanskaya, or is a little princess, Boskanskaya? The little princess sister-in-law, so the little princess is Boskanskaya. Okay, I should have known. Still smiling, she gracefully moved away, turning and glancing at her husband. Prince Andrew's eyes were closed, so weary and sleepy did he seem. Are you ready? He asked his wife, looking past her. Prince Hippolyte hurriedly put on his cloak, which in the latest fashion reached to his very heels, and stumbling in it, ran out to the porch, following the princess. Human footman was helping into the carriage. Princess, au revoir, cried he, stumbling with his tongue well as with his feet. The princess, picking up her dress, was taking her seat in the dark carriage. Her husband was adjusting his saber. Prince Hippolyte, under pretence of helping, was in everyone's way. Prince Hippolyte is quite awkward here. Allow me, sir, said Prince Andrew in Russian, in a cold, disagreeable tone, to Prince Hippolyte, who was blocking his path. I am expecting you, Pierre, said the same voice, but gently and affectionately. The postilion. I'm assuming the postilion is the place where the driver of the carriage sits. Yes, it is. Oh, it's a person who rides in one of the horses pulling the carriage. Usually the one on the left, instead of sitting in the driver's seat. That's interesting. Uh, the carriage wheels rattle. Prince Hippolyte laughed spasmodically as he stood in the porch waiting for the Vicomte, whom he had promised to take home. "Well, monsieur," said the Vicomte, having seated himself beside Hippolyte in the carriage, "your little princess is very nice indeed, quite French." And he kissed the tips of his fingers. Hippolyte burst out laughing. No, Princess Wilson's got it. Yeah. "Do you know, you are a terrible chap for your innocent airs," continued the Vicomte. "I pity the horsemen, and the little officer, he gives himself the airs of a monarch." Polite sputtered again and mended to laugh instead. "And you were saying that the Russian ladies are not equal to the French. One has to know how to deal with them. But this is taking place in... so Volskonskaya and Andrew have already left, I see. I think... Look, I'm not the best at old books, but is it supposed to be implied that Andrew, not Andrew, Hippolyte has a liking to Prince Volskonskaya? When did Prince Andrew studied like one cry at home, and from habit immediately laid down? I suppose they're in Prince Andrew's house now? At porch. What is the definition of porch in a carriage? Just because that's what it's always... Oh. Oh dear, nothing seems to be helping. See, they're waiting in the porch itself. I thought the porch was part of the carriage, but it's not. My bad. Are they walking home or did they take the carriage? I assume they take the carriage, but... Well, it's not a big deal. Begin reading it in the middle. I do that too. What have you done to... what does MLLE stand for? Oh, Mademoiselle. What have you done to Mademoiselle? Sure, she will be quite ill now, said Prince Andrew, as he entered the study, rubbing his small wet hands. Ah, they were all in the same carriage. I see now. Oh, my bad. Pierre turned his whole body, making the sofa crack. He lifted his eager face to Prince Andrew, smiled, and waved his hand. The abbé is very interesting, but he does not see the thing in the right place. In my opinion, perpetual peace is possible. Perpetual peace is possible, but I do not know how to express it. Not by a balanced political power. It was evident that Prince Andrew was not interested in such abstract conversation. One can't everywhere say, "Oh, one thinks, monsieur." Have you at least decided on anything? Are you going to be a guardsman or a diplomatist? Asked Prince Andrew after a momentary silence. A guardsman in war and peace. A soldier serving in the Imperial Russian Guard. I assume that's a very powerful position in the um, Russian army. Pierre sat up on the sofa with his legs tucked under him. Really, I don't yet know. I don't like either the one nor the other. Pierre has his mind in the right place and knowledge to be a diplomatist, but I don't think he would really. I don't think Pierre would really be beneficial to Russia if he was a diplomatist. But you must decide on something. Your father expects it. Pierre, at the age of 10, had been sent abroad with an abbé as a tutor. What is the meaning of abbé? Abbé is a French word for an abbot. It is also the title used for lower-ranking Catholic clergy in France who are not members of religious orders. I see. Abbé. So the Abbé Mortimer was a religious figure. That's interesting. But he must be a Freemason, he said, referring to Abbé, who he had met the evening. That is all nonsense, Prince Andrew again interrupted him. Let us talk business. Have you been to the horse guards? No, I have not, but this is what I've been thinking, and I wanted to tell you. There is a war now against Napoleon. If it were a war for freedom, I could understand it, and should be the first to enter the army. But to help England and Austria against the greatest man in the world is not right. Prince Andrew only shrugged his shoulders at Pierre's childish words. He put on the air of one who finds it impossible to reply to such nonsense, but it would in fact have been difficult to give to any other answer than the one Prince Andrew gave to this naive question. If no one fought except on his own conviction, there would be no wars, he said. If no one fought except if everyone if no one fought except on his own conviction, there would be no wars, he said. And that would be splendid, said Pierre. Prince Andrew smiled ironically. Very likely it would be splendid, but it will never come about. Well, why are you going to the war? Asked Pierre. What for? I don't know. I must. Besides that I am going. He paused. I am going because the life I am leading here does not suit me. Well, that made sense. He seems very cynical about it. So, the next page is only 1.5 pages, but considering I took 13 minutes to read chapter 6, I don't think I'll read it in time, so I must end the stream now. It will probably be continued in the future, but I might read it without doing a stream. So if that happens, I'm sorry. But good night. Good night to you too, and thank you for watching.